Please begin speaking after the beep.
Okay, so we're right here. So the two major systems of laboratory microscopes are illumination system and the imaging system. As she said, the illumination system has a light of source that can be controlled to let more or less light pass through the specimen. You're viewing, like when you move a lever or the side of the microscope, like the imaging system is actually magnification features, okay? It's a magnification features which can be collaborated by using the over lever to change power. When you look through a higher power, the image appears to be larger, and conservatively, when you look through a lower power, it appears to be smaller. What that really means, it's when you use a higher magnification, the image actually shows you a smaller part of the specimen, okay, because it's enlarged. Now when you switch power, the lens will focus automatically, but the big noob will allow you to make a rough adjustment, and the small noob will let you make a more detailed adjustment if you want. So that's somehow like something like prepared already, so that's what I actually do it. And we put these examples to answer them in an easier way and other things. Okay? So far we've answered 6 questions, how to answer these questions and talk about them and everything. Okay? That's the idea. So these 6 questions were like questions that like from the Barnes book, and it's like these are the samples of them, and we try to put their samples like for you, inshallah, like give you like other samples and other writings so you can actually practice on them and practice on how to give samples. And we give you some checklist about some of the points. We said that each time, each one, we should take points about lots of things. So this is the idea actually. Okay? So let's go next. The practice test number 2, we will solve like other tests. But before we go to that test, we will watch a video about some tests. Some of them may be like in that practice test, but we will watch them already. It's like somehow nice. So we watch them, some questions and some sample answers. Be right back.
The IBT TOEFL Master Speaking. Chapter 1, Independent Task. Unit 1, Personal Preference. Directions. In this question, you will be asked to talk about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak. Sample practice. What is the best class you have taken in school? Why was it the best in your opinion? Include details and examples to support your explanation. Please begin speaking after the beep. Sample answer.
The best class in school was my English class. The first reason is the teacher's bright and positive personality. I remember this class the most because the teacher always smiled whenever she entered the classroom. She made everyone become enthusiastic about the class. Also, she never yelled or scolded the students and always encouraged and comforted them. The second reason is the class atmosphere. Everyone in the class participated well by answering many questions, even though they were not fluent speakers of English. They even formed groups to study together and motivated one another. So I ended up getting an A+.
Practice test. Practice 1. What makes you choose a restaurant? Why is it important to you? Include details and examples to support your explanation. Please begin speaking after the beep. Sample answer.
When I choose a restaurant, I make ample parking my top priority. Parking cars downtown is not easy, and it sometimes takes an hour to find a place to park. If parking is not available, I'd rather not go. The second thing I consider is the atmosphere. When I'm having quality time with my friends and family, I would like to have a meal somewhere where the atmosphere is relaxed. If I have to deal with a long line or finish my meal and get up immediately, there is no point to eating out.
Practice 2. What is your dream job? Include reasons and details in your explanation. Please begin speaking after the beep. Sample answer. My dream job is an engineer. Being technology savvy in one specific field is something I really admire, but personally I really get blanked out when talking about technology. Talking about formulas and stuff makes me think I'm from another planet. Secondly, I prefer to move and be active. If I have to do research for hours and hours, I will feel sick and tired of the work. This will make me lose interest in my field, so working in front of the computer and staying in the lab is something I can't stand. For these reasons, I admire an engineer, but I think it's not a perfect job for me. Practice 3.
Which custom from your country do you think people in other countries should adopt? Include reasons and details to support your explanation. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Sample answer.
First of all, I think the diet plan is something people should adopt. Koreans eat lots of vegetables, which are good for their health. Koreans also eat less meat compared to other countries. A diet relatively low in meat cuts fat intake and makes a person feel better. The second thing is respect for others, especially the elders. Respect for others, according to seniority, is a pillar of Korea's traditions. Even though there are people who do not deserve it, if people respect each other, they have fewer problems in their relationships and in society as well.
Practice 4. What was the most memorable event in high school? Give reasons why and include details and examples in your explanation. Please begin speaking after the beep. Sample answer.
The most memorable event in high school was my graduation. The first reason is that I was able to look back on my school life. I was not a good student at first because I received low grades and was not motivated to study at all. But because of the teacher's encouragement and motivation, I was able to pull myself together and study hard, and in the end, I graduated with honors. This day helped me remember my wandering days and my best teacher. Another reason is that it was time for me to say goodbye to a part of my life and enter into a new one. Graduation made me realize all the possibilities that lay ahead of me. It made me put myself in perspective and think about what I should do for the future and gather all the valuable lessons from school. So for these reasons, the most memorable event in high school was my graduation.
Practice 5. Describe a moment or obstacle you had to overcome. Include reasons and details to support your explanation. Please begin speaking after the beep. Sample answer. The moment I had to overcome was when I got a low score on TOEFL. It was the first time I knew that I wasn't yet qualified. While studying for TOEFL, I thought I was putting my efforts into it, so I believed it was enough. But when I received my test scores, I knew I had to do more. Also, I learned to organize my schedule. Before, I just spent my whole day on studying. But I learned that it wasn't effective for my studies, so I divided my time and also planned out a specific schedule for each of 4 sections, and this helped me to organize my lifetime schedule as well. Practice 6.
Which public place do you enjoy going to? Why do you enjoy going there? Include details and examples in your explanation. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Sample answer.
My favorite place to hang out with my friends is the pub. The first reason is that I can enjoy beer with my friends. I love the cold, refreshing taste of beer, and it is best to drink it at a pub rather than at home. Although it is more expensive, I enjoy the feeling of drinking beer at a pub while talking to my friends. The second reason is that I love the atmosphere. My friends and I can reminisce about our childhood days, or talk about girls, or even our futures there. We can share that special bond between us and think back over our lives. For these reasons, my favorite place to hang out is the pub.
Practice 7. What is the most innovative invention? Explain why that event is memorable. Include details and examples to support your explanation. Please begin speaking after the beep. Sample answer.
I think the greatest invention until now is the telephone. The first reason is that it enables us to communicate with people all over the world. It is fascinating to know that I can contact whomever I want within a few minutes just by picking up the phone and dialing the number. Before the telephone was invented, people had to travel miles on foot to deliver messages. But with the telephone, there's absolutely no reason to go through all the travel. Another reason is that I can bond with friends. If it weren't for the telephone, I don't think I would be able to build special relationships with friends. I still contact my elementary, middle and high school friends by talking to them over the phone. For these reasons, I think the greatest invention is the telephone.
Practice 8.
What is the most popular sport in your country? Why is it popular? Include details and examples in your explanation. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Sample answer.
The most popular sport in Korea is soccer. The first reason is that our national team is considered the best in Asia. The soccer players on our national team are on international teams that make our nation proud. Korean people believe that it is difficult to compete internationally, but many of our athletes are in Europe, bringing glory to our country. The second reason is the 2002 World Cup. In the Korea-Japan World Cup, our team had advanced to the semi-finals for the first time in World Cup history. At that time, soccer helped the nation to be united as one, and we enjoyed our national team sweating and competing with all the top countries in the world.
Okay, so I guess I've got most of the notes that I need. Okay.
Now listen to the foreign student advisor. He is explaining the policy and expressing his opinion about it.
I think it's very important for you to know that this policy wasn't instituted in order to increase fees for international students. In fact, the university doesn't make a profit from the sale of health insurance. The problem is that health care costs in this country are so high that it could be financially disastrous for the family of an international student who needed more than just a simple visit to the doctor's office. A trip to the emergency room at the hospital could cost thousands of dollars without health insurance. Most families abroad just don't realize how costly it is. As for foreign health insurance providers, well, it was just too difficult to validate their coverage for medical services, and the local doctors and hospitals simply stopped accepting them. So, to be sure that our students are protected, we're offering low-cost health insurance through the school.
Okay, so here in my notes, I'm supposed to cover what? Supposed to cover, like, to summarize the
The foreign
situation?
student advisor expresses his opinion of the policy for health insurance. Report his opinion.
So I'm going to report his opinion. So what are the points I should actually cover here? I should cover like the summarize, talk, summarize, situation, the whole thing, and opinion, the point of view, the position. So the talk, direction, well organized, supposed to be like this. I have to like have logical sentences, and I have to have some details. So let's try to say this answer, okay, in general. So I can say this, like the foreign student advisor agrees with the policy that requires international students to purchase health insurance from the university at registration, okay? He assures students that the university isn't trying to increase fees for international students by doing his. He explains that healthcare is very expensive. For example, a visit to an emergency room can be a financial burden to a family who doesn't have medical insurance. He said that most families of international students don't expect the cost to be so excessive. And the reason that the university doesn't allow students to substitute other healthcare providers is because the local medical community had problems with validation for health insurance plans from abroad and now refuses to accept them. So in order to protect the students, the school doesn't make any exceptions to the policy. Okay? So that's something, an idea like I can discuss or something like that. Let's go next for our next question, next practice questions we're having today.
Read a short passage and listen to a lecture on the same topic. Then listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
Now read the passage about Antarctica. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now.
So that's the passage. Antarctica and the ocean that surrounds it constitutes 40% of the planet. But in spite of that vast area, it has remained a frontier with no payment town or transportation networks. Between 1895 and 1914, explorers planted their flags claiming blah 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 whatever. So all of these things, I take numbers, like I take the dates, I take the events that happened that day, so I can provide them in my answer. Okay. Also after that, I'll have another thing. I'll explain why countries like through that listening that I'm going to listen to. So let's go through the listening here. So let's go for that listening. Okay.
Now listen to part of a lecture in a geography class. The professor is talking about Antarctica.
With the increasing pressure to replace raw materials that are being consumed in other parts of the world, Antarctica and the waters offshore could become a stage for international conflict in the future. During the 18th and 19th centuries, hunters decimated huge populations of whales and seals, and the race to reach the South Pole resulted in national claims by explorers from a variety of countries, which finally resulted in the partitioning of pie-shaped sectors radiating away from the center at the pole. So, today, several claims overlap, and only one sector remains unclaimed. Virtually all of these claims are covered by an ice sheet about 2 miles thick. But the question is, what's beneath the ice? Scientific experiments indicate that proteins, fuels, and minerals exist in abundance. And that means that in spite of the difficulties and challenges involved in the exploitation of these natural resources, the countries with claims haven't demonstrated an intention to relinquish their stake in the area. While resources are available in more convenient sites, the remote areas in Antarctica appear to be relatively safe from exploitation. In addition, as the reading passage suggests, global self-interest may engender international cooperation in this crucial environmental system.
Okay. Got most of it.
Explain why many countries have staked claims in Antarctica and why national interests have not been pursued.
Please prepare your answer after the beep.
Okay. Very nice. So prepare some things to talk about Antarctica. So let's talk about it. Okay. Okay, so we're missing the part that I've written before. So something like Antarctica, we're talking about it, and we had like these notes about the thing. So the professor started talking, and he said like the theory about the whole thing, and he talked about it. And he mentioned some things about this continental directed whatever and that thing. So I prepare my answer and try to actually explain the whole thing, okay, and I try to explain it in 60 seconds. For example, I say that Antarctica is one of like the most important continental continents, okay. This continent like is like consuming 40% of that thing, and we need to talk about it and to talk about how to save that, whatever, and so on. Okay, now I guess like that's enough for that part of like that reading. I'm so sorry, the speaking section. We need to go to the integrated writing again. Okay, so let's go for the writing part. Let's go for the practice one for the writing part to get to know what are we actually going to do with the writing part, and what are we going to like, how are we going to deal with it. Okay, now we will come to like the writing part after the. Okay, so it's sequence. When we took the break, we prayed. When we took the break, we prayed as well. So like we finished both. Alhamdulillah, both alhamdulillah. Now let's start like by doing this. Now, so here let's watch this video about some tips for the things before until like let's watch the steps and let's after that continue. Okay.
Hi, my name is Jennifer LaCroix. I'm an instructor at Boston University, and I'd like to share with you a tip on how to synthesize your integrated spoken response for the TOEFL or your integrated written response for the TOEFL exam. So while you're participating in the integrated section, the first thing you'll have to do is read a short passage. Usually this is a written text composed of about 45 seconds worth of reading material. Next, you'll be presented with a longer academic listening task, which can sometimes be quite challenging. What I recommend is while you're listening to the listening section, try to think about whether or not the speaker is agreeing or disagreeing with what you read in the text. Next, what you want to do is make notes for yourself using plus marks if the speaker is agreeing, or negative marks or little dashes if you think the speaker is disagreeing. This will help you prepare in your 30 to 45 seconds before you actually start speaking or writing whether or not you should compare, show similarities, or contrast, show differences. This is an important skill for your success in both undergraduate and graduate university, because this skill of synthesizing, or how to do a synthesis, is important for building persuasive arguments in the overall academic atmosphere. That's my tip. I hope that helps you out on your next TOEFL exam.
Short video like about tips related to the speaking part. Now let's go from the speaking part and jump to the writing part. Very nice. Let's jump to the writing part. Okay, the writing section. Now the writing section, we said like it has like two tasks. Now tasks like integrated and tasks not integrated. Okay, like independent tasks. Now let's start with the first one. Now we have something here, the integrated task first, then we will read a passage and listen to a part of a lecture and some topics, then answer the questions. So we have a passage like this, so that's the passage, okay? And after reading the passage, okay, so after reading the passage as the instructions here, like then I listen to a part of the conversation Like, so you have 20 minutes to plan, yes, to plan, right? Okay, and revise your responses to reading passages. Okay, so the 20 minutes here are like this. Now, remember when we talked about the reading passage? We said what? Yes, we said in the writing, the independent one, we have like 30, I'm so sorry, the integrated one, we have 30 minutes. We take 5 planning, 5 revising, and 20 to write the whole thing. That's what he's saying. And you have to write from 150 to 250. 25, okay? So these are some examples from what you're going to face. Now, we said always in the writing section is not just like that. The writing section is like evaluating your comprehension for things. And we talked about the methods in the previous session about like the writing thing and how to do the writing and all of the things. We talked about them all. So today, like I'm showing you some examples from the writings here. So we have like a writing section here, like 2 writings, and these are examples for integrated writing. That means we said integration. That means I combine 2, very nice. I combine two skills together and I do them together. So the idea here, like, is to combine here the reading, the listening, and the writing together to do this integrated task. And as I said, like, it takes like maximum 30 minutes, 5, and 20 in the writing, the whole thing. Okay, now let's go next to the next thing. So these are like two examples, and you summarize the main points and everything. Of course, we said, like, we talked about how to take points, how to take notes in the writing. So let's say, let's like somehow like see something like about taking notes, skills about taking notes, a small video about taking notes, and come back.